Hey, greetings, comrades, and welcome to the Rad Gaming Podcast. I'm Jemshi.
That would make me Pescador. And in this episode of the podcast, we talk about the upcoming raid for Area 51, the new alternate storylines for Cyberpunk 2077, and the often overlooked issues with the dreaded microtransaction.
This episode of the podcast is sponsored by the one and only Cento Fiore. That's right, Cento Fiore is a lifestyle fashion brand that sees beauty and cultural heritage and always strives to offer timeless and elegant style, just like they do every other week. You can visit cento-fiore.com to join the family. That's cento-fiori.com. And also, the Rad Gaming Podcast is part of Big Heads Media. And with that all said, let's jump right on to the podcast. So, Pescador.
Yeah.
Are you going to go to the Area 51 raid in September?
I saw something about Area 51 throughout social media, but I'm not 100% sure what it was. And I saw it briefly on Bing. Yeah, I do Bing, and the reason why is pick up Bing points. Bing points gets you a lot of stuff.
Bing points.
Yeah, right? No, but please elaborate, because I honestly don't know anything about the
Area 51 so there's this
thing.
I came across it just because I guess I browse Instagram. I guess I do browse Instagram sometimes, and like I see like the funny, memes and stuff that come up, and a lot of them are like alien or focused, like, oh hey, me and my alien friend hanging out after the raid, and then like, oh, something like, they're like all these different alien memes, and I was kind of like, this is interesting, why is everybody talking about it? It's all like Area 51, like Area 51 after the raid or something, and it has like all these aliens dancing and stuff, like all sorts of memes like all over the place. And I was just like, what happened? Like, is Area 51 opening up to the public now? Like, is everyone allowed now to like come in there?
That would be sick.
But it's actually the complete opposite. It is still locked down, and what it is that they've got these UFO believers, or like, what is a...
Wait, you don't believe in UFOs?
Do I believe that they've come to Earth? This is a whole discussion in itself. Let me finish the story first before we get into this.
Go ahead.
I don't know if it's UFO or whatever, but there are people who believe that Area 51 houses alien, spacecraft or aliens themselves.
Yeah, of course.
And there are a lot of them that just say, you know what? I want to see for myself. Let's go, and like literally quoting, it's "see them aliens." Like that's part of the event on Facebook. So they made this a Facebook event, like, oh, on September 20th, we're all gonna go raid Area 51. They can't get all of us. We're all gonna get in there and see what it's like inside of Area 51. And as of today, literally the like Air Force, like Area 51, like they had to put out a warning, like, do not come. So I'm kind of curious as to how many people are actually going to go, because currently there are over 1 million people, like, checkmark going to this event.
They're like, they actually responded and said yes, they're going to go and attend.
Yeah, like this is like a public event.
Oh my goodness!
And then there's like another 1 million, like, interested, but like there's a lot more interested people than people who are actually going. But I'm just a little like blown away by the fact that they got over 1 million people within just a couple days to already be like, yeah, we're gonna go. And that means like a lot of people are probably actually gonna go. Like, yeah, I think a lot of people are gonna go for the memes, gonna go for like, I just want to be there and be a part of something that like could happen. Like, if it happens, I want to be one of the people who are there. But I don't know, I'm kind of curious as to what's gonna happen, because
so let me make a prediction. I predict that a ton of people are going to show up, a couple thousand, and they're going to sit right at that border, like that edge of where, like, it's not like it's Area 51 and not Area 51, like that whole area. And some people are going to get drunk, and probably a few of those thousands of people will try to run over to the side of Area 51, and I'm sure they'll be detained, because I'm sure they'll be with some kind of force from some kind of, military police or just
Yeah, this
military
is
in
like
general.
military
So,
personnel, I'm sure, because this is like a secure,
oh yeah.
military
And if they
base.
start congregating around that border, I'm sure that they'll have to put troops out there to kind of like keep the peace and make sure that no one wants to try to wander into like that area. You know,
and
so
you have to know that this like it's a security risk too, because you don't know like how many like actual bad actors are like, oh, like I'll just disguise as a part of this rally here at the Area 51 and actually get in there and expose government secrets or whatever's in there. But like you said earlier, am I a believer in UFOs? I'm open to the idea. I'm not sure that there have been any UFOs within the past century. I would say no, but in the past, anytime beyond that, I would say probably.
My fiance, she is a huge believer of UFOs, and it's hilarious because where we live, it's kind of close to the airports, so we see planes all the time, and there'd be these big giant bright lights in the sky, and she'd be like, "That right there is a UFO for sure." I'm like, no, that's a plane, and we'll debate back and forth for probably about 10, 20 minutes until it comes in really close, and then she's like, "Oh, okay, it's a plane." But like, she's a big believer of it. I believe that there's other life out there, because why would I be so ignorant to say that like there's millions of other constellations, and like we don't even know what's out there yet. There's other universes, there's other planets. Why would I be so ignorant to say that there isn't life on other planets? But UFOs, you can make a believer out of me if you can pull some good stuff. I saw some old footage of some things, but I'm still not a firm believer. I believe that a lot of the things that people have seen have been like test flights for military craft that haven't been designed, or the designs haven't been released to the public yet. So that's my belief.
Yeah, that's what I think, because I think a lot of those designs were things that, like they said, like, even at the time, because like this Area 51's been around since like the 1940s, I think, or 1950. It's been around for a long time, and I know that
that's a great question. I don't know.
It was since Eisenhower was president, I think, because I think that was like the CIA's that he like signed off on it or something. I don't think that I know this off the top of my head. I read up a little bit on Area 51, just kind of curious. Like they had like
I was gonna say, man, that's pretty impressive. I was like, I know a little bit about Eisenhower, but I didn't know that was one of those things. But okay.
Yeah, because I was just a little bit interested in the fact that like, oh, there's Area 51, and it's kind of like, oh yeah, like let me refresh my memory on like all the stuff that's happened around Area 51, and I think it was always like denied that it was ever a thing, like that, like, oh, we don't have a secret base where we test aircraft or anything, and like then finally it's like, I think what was it, like 2013, I think it was, is when they finally like released the CIA like records saying like, yeah, okay, yeah, you got us,
you got us, yeah, whatever,
yeah, and everyone was like, I knew it. But like, I think it's funny is that like, I think the problem with that though is that it pretty much, that like them releasing that was like almost, it's further proof for anybody who believes that it's like housing aliens, because they're like, that's the perfect cover up, we were just testing aircraft, like testing new designs for aircraft. That it's like, yeah, that does kind of like the perfect explanation is like, so those were we were making those are definitely ours, like
yeah. And it's a thing though, like I don't know if they like it's so secret, top secret, obviously, because they design things that aren't meant to be seen by people. I wonder if they're testing like some kind of missile system or new vehicles and things like that constantly, but who knows, maybe they do have aliens deep down inside. I don't know. I love to find out the secret. I'd love to join them, but I'm not like that enthusiastic, and I don't want to. I kind of abide by the rules, so I don't really like. I'm not a rule breaker.
Yeah, for me, I think that if there are any aliens in Area 51, they aren't alive. Just because
like
I want
frozen or something.
Well, I just think that I'm not sure if they'd be able to survive on Earth, is the kind of thing that like I'm wondering, like, do they have food that they'd be able to eat here? Like, I'm sure water would be one of the things. Like, I'm sure.
I don't know.
Like, but how did life grow? Because like, there's different types of bacteria and animals all over the Earth.
Yeah,
that,
there's stuff.
Like
nitrogen and stuff. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, like
I
there could be all
know.
kinds of stuff. So if they're alive, they've probably been like deep freezed or something, and they, test the tissue or something. But I don't know. I like the one thing I do like about the alien like stereotype where they have like the big black eyes, kind of like insects would, is that kind of is like one of the most common like things on Earth, or like, you know, insects and bugs and stuff. So it's like that makes sense. Like, oh, what's the most common thing on Earth is like a bug, so maybe that's why. But could they be smart enough to get to Earth? I don't know. It's one of those things where I was like, if we were like, I was trying to think, because we have to be like, consider that we're also aliens to another planet, right? So if we were to go to another planet, at what point in our like society, like at what point in the future will we be like, all right, it's time to go out and explore other planets, you know? Like, because I know
it's happening very soon.
Yeah, because I know we're going to Mars. Like, I know we are. Like, I would love to see it happen in my lifetime, where like the first man goes to Mars or something. Because
yeah.
You know what I mean? I wasn't alive for the first man on the moon. I want to be alive for the first man on the Mars. You know, if that's Elon Musk, that's super badass. Could you imagine?
That'd be pretty good.
That's the thing. Like, I think if I was,
that's the way to go, though.
Yeah, like, because he's always talked about how he wants to grow up on Earth and then like die on Mars, because he's like, that's how I want things to go. So it's like, if he's like, I feel like he's almost like he's got to be the first guy to step foot on Mars, because like then it'd be like the like ultimate example of like, if you want something to happen, you can make it happen, and like he would be that guy. But I think, like, I guess like to go back is like what I was trying to say is that like we'd have to like send out like ships to like random planets. We're like, you know what, there's probably life on this planet, but we can't tell. And you know, Pescador, Jemshi, you guys are gonna fly out to this, you know,
I'd say no
place, and you're probably gonna die on the trip there. But you know, we're gonna have to put you in like a deep sleep, and you'll wake up and you just be over there. Nope. And when you wake up, everyone that you've ever known will be dead for thousands and thousands of years. Like,
yeah, I'm gonna have to say a big negative on that one, Ghost Rider, because one, not only would that whole thing probably, it eventually could happen, yeah, but like you being the person to go over there and explore this new world, you have no idea what the heck does what. Something can be super friendly, something can, like, if you touch it just a slight bit, it can, you know, kill you. I don't like that unknown. I don't want to be the Lewis and Clark of, exploration of space. Yes. And that's what scares me the most, because who knows what else is out there, man. I don't want to get like a space disease and like just like my eyes just start bleeding out of its sockets, and like I don't want that.
Oh man, like I'm finally here, and then you're like, you just die.
Yeah, like I think I can breathe. My computer says it can breathe, but there's like some kind of molecule that's like floating around in the air that's super toxic to people, and it can't detect it. You open up your mat, and your face implodes or something. No, thank you. I'm good.
So I think the thing with like that kind of space travel is it takes such a long time, and I almost wonder if it's even possible to have someone go to sleep for thousands of years and then wake up. Like, because how do you test that? You're like, okay, like I just hope you wake up.
So the question I have for you is, I don't know. I think that there's been multiple findings out towards the Arctic of different bacteria that's been frozen in the ice for so long, and they can't unthaw it. I don't know if it's still living technically, but the skin tissue's still alive. And I'm wondering if it was possible that if we keep our bodies physically intact, I know that there was a scientist a while back trying to conduct a study on a mouse to see if it can transfer a brain, like its cognizant thoughts, from one mouse to another.
Mm-hmm.
And he believes he could do it. I don't remember if he's still in that process, still trying to figure that out. I know he was trying to do it. So, like, if they can combine those two things, I think that they can actually, like,
I think I've heard. I've heard of this exact same, like, research article, and I've read it, and I might have read like afterwards, but there was, the test was like they took the brain out, they froze it, and like to kind of simulate that, like, okay, it's in like that cryogenic
sleep thing.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Cryogenic vat or something, like where they like freeze it, and then they took it out, like dethawed it, put it back into like put it into like another mouse, and it was able to like remember its surroundings, because like they had like
I just was curious, is that
yeah, like that's what I saw, but like it's obviously not in America, so like who knows.
Yeah, I think it was in Italy. I'm almost positive.
Yeah, it wasn't in America. Like, so I know, like, it's one of those things where like sometimes you think, like, I can't remember whatever country it was from, they were a little bit skeptical as to whether or not this was actually a valid like finding, because like sometimes like they can fudge it and be like, it totally worked, and like for all we know, like the mouse, they're like, oh yeah, sorry, the mouse died later of natural causes, we can't, like there's nothing we can do, like
Yeah.
It's
like, oh, it's something happened,
I do know that's actually available for people to do, like if when you know like some people want to be cremated when they die, you can also like pay a large amounts of money and put your body into like cryogenic deep sleep or whatever.
Yeah.
I think that'd be kind of interesting. Like if you just woke up like thousands of years later and you're like, I totally thought I died and here I am again.
Yeah, no, I
would have to have like a couple of friends or family members to come, do that, because I would hate to like wake up and not know anybody, except the other people who did, like thousands of years later. Like I would want somebody to at least be like, isn't this crazy? Like how the future is now. Like, do you remember back in the day? And that they'd be like, dude, we didn't grow up together. Like, I don't know anything about you, Yeah,
but like, yeah, can you not remember? Because like, we were best friends, and that's the. I was reading something a while back about China actually being able to genetically modify people.
Right, that guy. Go ahead.
I honestly can't remember too much about it. I could have swore that were they able to do that? I remember reading upon it. I can't remember that.
I love this one. So now that I think about it, I read all kinds of weird articles that were talking.
Oh yes, they edited babies, right?
Yeah, so he was able to manipulate the genes before the baby was born, so that it was born without certain diseases. And this like basically like was potentially like an opening the door to like, oh, if we allow this kind of science to exist, can we now manipulate how they look? Can I make this baby look more attractive or have like different colored hair or like all kinds of things? And he was like, oh, this was just for, helping them not have these certain diseases, which I think that's like pretty cool. Like if in your family genetically you're going to die of like this disease, like at like a 70% chance, when you love to just be like, oh yeah, I don't have to worry about that now. Like my kids don't have to worry about that.
I don't like messing with genes just because, in my opinion, it helps. It hurts the population over time. Think about it. People can genetically modify babies, and I'm sure it's going to be millions of dollars to even do this. I mean, maybe even billions of dollars to do it. But say one day down the road in like 2077, that you can modify people's genes, and it's pretty cheap. Let's say thousands of dollars. The life expectancy of people would rise astronomically, and I don't think we do have enough food to sustain the mass amount of people that are actually going to still be alive. Yeah. I mean, probably still going to be wars and stuff, unfortunately, and other things that will, natural disasters and things like that. But like still, like the amount of people will just be unreal.
Well, I know that I actually watched a movie that had this exact plot. So
what movie was that?
Gattaca.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
It's like an older movie. I wouldn't recommend watching it, but it just happened to have this like that plot in it. And so basically in that movie, everybody is like genetically perfect. And the thing is like you don't like, because like, oh, overpopulation, but like everybody is like, farmed and are like grown up in a lab, like you know what I mean? Like you're a mom, you're a dad, and
it's kind of like the Matrix in a sense that every like babies are like raised, but they're like batteries. I guess that's not really the same concept.
Yeah, I guess not. But it's I guess like Mewtwo or something, where like they're just like biologically created. Like they can grab two parents, they just grab their DNA and they combine them and they create this like genetically perfect baby. And like people born the natural way are like scum basically, because they're like they aren't genetically perfect.
So like so it basically like splits like individuals into like not social classes, but kind of like that. Basically in a sense,
social classes, because it's like
superior, like the quote unquote superior race of people. Like so, like every race that is altered is the better, and then everyone that's not is like the poor. Like you know what I mean? Like that kind of society.
The thing is like the guy like everything is like super like they basically have like all these different ways to like test your DNA to like ensure that you're like I don't remember what the term was, but like somebody who was part of like the DNA like click or whatever in this world. So like this guy, he's like he was born the natural way, and he was just kind of like, oh man, I want to be like a part of like this, you know, world or whatever, but like I'm not welcome. And like basically the whole movie is like there's one of these perfectly genetic guys gets in like an accident or something, and he's like lost his legs or something, so now he's like, I'm genetically perfect but I've lost my legs. And he's like, you look enough like me, why don't we just like, because like that's how they find him, like, you look kind of like me, why don't you go and like live this life, and I can like, you know, they kind of like switch lives or whatever, which is kind of like this, I don't know, it's like one of those weird plots where it's kind of like cool, but like it's funny because like the guy who's like genetically perfect, like he just starts taking up smoking because he's like, screw it, I'm already ruined. Like, like he just.
Oh yeah, I guess it's the best way to do it. But
yeah,
no, it's an interesting concept. No, I know we went on a huge tangent about.
I want to bring it back into the topic for Cyberpunk, because that's where I was going to try to take this, because that's exactly.
I like it. Yeah, that's a great segue.
The new announcement for Cyberpunk is they actually have character creation now affects the they call it the life path of the game that you play. So you pick a character, and you can, and they say you can even kind of like pick what class you're in. Like, let's say you're kind of like the street rat, or I guess like street punk. So, you know, like something like that.
Is it gang, more or less, a gang association, or is
you can be like part of the gang? And I'm thinking maybe they might have like different gangs. Like, I'm assuming there's more than one gang in this game.
And I remember that you can wear clothing that it increases your street cred. So like if you wear like a certain gang's colors in Cyberpunk 2077, that you increase your gang or like your rep with that gang, and then you can unlock certain weapons and modifications that you couldn't do with other gangs. So like they like being associated with a specific gang is actually really good for you, because you get unlocks that you wouldn't get with another gang. So
yeah, so I think that's like the thing they're starting to like kind of tease a little bit. They're trying to like show that, like, because I think that another one they said is you can be part of the corporation and take it down from the inside. And I was like, interesting. So there must be some kind of plot point where there's some kind of corporation that goes, I don't know. It's always, that's how it is. Like, it's always the street punks fighting some big corporation where everybody's like the clean cut, like they have all the technology in the world that they need. But I think this is cool because it definitely gives that, you know, replay value, which is like insane for games nowadays, because like they need to have that replay value for the game to be awesome. Like, imagine playing Cyberpunk and you're like, cool, I played it. You don't want to just be like one of those people, like a lot of people when they play a game, they want, if there's multiple endings, sometimes they just go, I'll play it through once or twice, and then I'll just kind of watch videos on the other endings or something, you know. But this game seems so involved that it's not something you can just watch a YouTube video on, you know, because like you're like, I want to, like, how do we get from point A to point B? Because this story is so complex, and I'm loving the fact that this game has been in the works for so long, and like even now they announced it. It's like so long before we get the game. It's just like I don't know. I just love the fact that they're finally a game that like is, you know, that's the thing. They're promising so much though, and I'm really hoping it comes through as like an amazing game, because like this is a game that like I simply cannot wait to play. And I know when we finally play this game, we're gonna have probably like episode after episode of the podcast about this game.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be just have a whole new podcast just for Cyberpunk, to be honest.
Yes, the game we've been waiting for. I'm super excited about that. But no, it makes perfect sense. Just because I know for a fact when I had Fallout, there's ways that you can alter the ending, and you can pick whatever, you know, the way you handle yourself and the way you talk to people, you know, changes your paths and stuff like that. And I had to play through again because I wanted to play as with a different ending. So I would definitely play Cyberpunk multiple times if it's done well, obviously, but if it gives me that possibility. And I'm super stoked with all the possibilities of this game. If it's working fine and doesn't pull like almost like an Anthem off the start,
I know, I'm so afraid like it's gonna be like set. No Man's Sky or like Anthem or something. Like, that's my biggest fear, and I think
so am I.
they've got Keanu Reeves on this too. Like, they can't mess this up. You know?
You can't do it for the Reeves.
I know. That's the thing. I think that's the thing. If this game is as good as you and I both believe that it will be, like, this is like gonna immortalize Keanu Reeves as like the coolest person on earth. You know,
It's gonna solidify his life.
I know he's already replaced Chuck Norris pretty much. Like, we've already kind of, cause like there used to be those Chuck Norris memes. Yeah, Chuck Norris memes, and now it's just gonna be Keanu, you know, all the time.
Yeah, but I guess we can go on to the next topic in general. There's no easy way to segue into this, but I'd love to talk to you about microtransactions and the roles that it's playing in people's pockets. So I was reading an article today in general, and they're saying that apparently there's been multiple cases with many different games, but like kids are spending tons, and I mean tons, thousands of dollars.
That's not the direction I thought
on
you were
game.
going with this.
What'd you think?
I thought you were just going to talk about how it's just a part of every game or something. Like, it's just kind of taken over.
No, it's really ruining people's lives right now. And the reason being is because you and I both know that there's tons of microtransactions out there. Like, you look at Fortnite, Rocket League, anything you basically play anymore is microtransactions. So I was reading tons of articles, and they were saying that people, like, they have instances in which people have spent upwards of 3,160 euros, which I think equates to about 3,500-ish bucks.
Them quick
and that's
math.
yeah, and that's it's unreal. Like, how? Oh, just can you imagine if you had a son or daughter and they ended up buying all these microtransactions, and all of a sudden you get hit with a bill of like what, 3,500 bucks?
Oh, like, I don't even know. Like, I'm like, to me, I'm already like afraid of just like, I don't know, like, just thinking about that, because I'm like, can you even get a refund? Like,
No, and that's the funny thing. So I'm reading this article, and it was a game called Hidden Artifacts. It's like a game you can play on the iPad, actually. And they're saying that it's since it was in the EU, the person called iTunes and asked, said, hey, my son made this purchase, all these purchases, and we want our money back. Please, can you give us our money back? And they were unable to refund them the money because the way that it's set up is in the EU, apparently requests can be canceled after 14 days of purchase, but this was after the fact. So, like, this is the beginning of the month, and they didn't look at their statement until the end of the month, and they couldn't get that money back. So basically, that kid just bought $3,500 worth of
God, that's like gotta be like
transactions.
That's a huge chunk of cash. Like, that's like a couple months of savings right there. Boom. Like, I hope they were able to like pay that off, because I guess it's on the credit card or something. But
yeah, and there's like other kids. Like, I'm reading the article again, and there's like some kid, a 16-year-old son, spent nearly 2,000 euros in EA basketball, like EA NBA, like this like sports game. And I mean, this list goes on and on. There's so many things, and like basically $1,000, like $1,000 in Clash of Clans, and just like it just keeps on going. Like, can you imagine? Oh man,
this
is the trend though this day. But this is the trend if you think about it. Like, I haven't seen one for Fortnite yet, and it has to be something sometime soon, right? I mean, I'm sure if I look it up, I'm sure I'll find a whole bunch of things. But this article was just...
I think I'm trying to wonder how this happens. So, like, I'm wondering if because like these games, you have to have like I know for Android at least that like whenever you make purchases using your like Google Play account or something, sometimes it's like type in your password or hit the fingerprint scanner or something. So like I wonder if maybe they just haven't set those things up, because
maybe they need better parental controls. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because I know that like a lot of times like there's like that extra step, and that's what like makes me wonder is like, is there like, are they missing this extra step, or are they kind of like, oh, here's the password,
so
like, what's the
I'll be 100% honest, man. So when I was younger, I got Xbox Live. I didn't have the money to pay for it. I was really young. I was probably about in between 12 and 13, like somewhere in there age wise. So my dad just like, credit card is going to be on the Xbox. It's fine. Once you renew it when you can. So like I had access to it, and I know multiple times I obviously asked my parents like, hey, can I purchase this game because it's a digital download? Can I do that like later on down the road? And they're like, yeah, that's fine. So like it's all saved in the Xbox. I mean, I'm sure it's saved in other things as well. And even if they didn't, I set up my own password because it was my device. So like there was no parental controls. They had no idea. The parents just go, here's a card.
Like delete their own credit card information off the Xbox.
Oh, I'm sure there is, but like my parents, I'm not trying to sound rude or anything, but they don't really know technology as well as I do. So they kind of just like, what do you need? I need you to pay for Xbox Live, and they're like, okay, here's the credit card. Put that in, and like, just let me know when just tell me when you do it, so I know to look for that in statements. And they're like, okay. So I do it, give it to them, but like I can imagine,
you said, where it's like you can imagine in that exact scenario, like you were exactly what they were hoping for, someone that they could trust with their credit card. Like imagine if suddenly one day you're like, you're like, oh my god, if I just spent $50, I could easily get this, and then another $50, and you like suddenly you're just
like, why not? I have this credit card. I mean, I want to play this game. This game is totally worth it, but like I can't even fathom. What's $3,500 on a game, on one game?
Like that's one case. There's like other ones were probably easily more than that.
I mean, I'm sure we can look at the laundry list of things. I'm sure people spent tons of money on other microtransactions and stuff.
I think it comes from the I know me growing up, I kind of thought that my parents just had unlimited money, and the reason they didn't want to like buy me everything I wanted was the fact that they were just you're not allowed to have it because that's just how we are as parents. And I'm like, man, when I grow up, I'm gonna get everything I want. And then then you find out, you're like, oh, like yeah, of course I can't buy everything I want,
Yeah. The moment you start working is the moment you quickly realize, hey, that sucks.
Yeah,
I can't buy anything.
And you realize the reason why they didn't want to buy all these things because they're like, we need to draw the line somewhere. Like if we say yes to one thing and you're like, well, you know what I mean? Like they got to make sure that there's some kind of like consistency in there, or else.
So, but the way that I want to pull this all back in and kind of end this whole podcast, but a while back, Prince Harry was saying that he wanted to end this whole like a Fortnite microtransaction kind of thing going on because there's more like gambling. Do you remember they were trying to pass a bill for that too and things like that? So, do you think with these like horrifying stories, do you think that bill should be passed, or do you think that they should just leave it at that and have parents monitor their children a little bit more?
Yeah, because I think it was something to do with just like there was a certain genre or something of gaming that was going to get. So there's something like a huge core element of the game where it's going to get banned or something or outlawed. I think a lot, like I said, I think like even with I know on the mobile phones there is like some kind of parental. I don't know if it's like parental you would say, but like they do have like the password thing you have to type in every time.
Yeah.
And I guess you'd have to be careful. Like so I can imagine like that, but I don't know, like on like PC or something, like when you have a Steam account, like you can easily just like pop in there and buy a new game during the Steam summer sale or
because if you think about it, back when we were younger, there were no microtransactions really. I mean, they didn't really have digital content to download either.
Yeah, so I had to you literally had to make sure your parents walked in there and bought it for you.
Yeah, especially if it's like Grand Theft Auto or something, you couldn't just buy it and be like, oh, I'm over 18, haha, they had to go in and actually buy it and then hand it to you. Well,
you had parents that would do that. Mine wouldn't.
Yeah, my parents were pretty cool.
I didn't play a T-rated game until I was, what was it, 13?
Dang.
Yeah, I know. So like I was so behind on like all the
cool games,
like Halo and everything that everybody was playing, because I think that was probably not rated E.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Or Xbox or PlayStation.
Why you were a Nintendo fan? That makes perfect sense then, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I was a Nintendo fan because I think it was just what I had, and I think my parents were like, like I think I want to be the same way, where I'm probably gonna have my kids play Nintendo games.
Yeah.
At first to kind of like have them enjoy.
I grew up on Nintendo.
Yeah, and let them kind of play a lot of the Nintendo classics. Well, maybe not classics, because like there's gonna be a new classic by the time that my kids are around. But I'll let them play
Yeah.
that, and then I think probably when they're a bit older and they're like able to understand, you know, I don't know, like 'cause I know this like for myself that like you reenact things that you see in like video games, but like not like literally reenact them, but you kind of like play pretend. You know,
Yeah.
it's like you get because like I would get my Lego guys and be like Super Smash Brothers and like have them like play.
I love to see Jemshi going Super Smash Brothers and just punching them off the cliff.
did. I recreated the entire Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time with Legos. Like because it was one of those things where like my brothers and we would.
I can see it.
We would literally like we didn't have enough Legos to build everything at once, so we would build like the like Temple of Time, and then we'd like have that that's part of the game go on and be like, all right, now we got to build the next temple, and then we'd like tear everything apart, build the next thing, and then we're like, oh, we gotta go back to the Temple of Time, which is literally destroyed. Let's just have the little like small part with the podium and put the sword. Okay, yeah, we got that part. Like,
yeah, you need to. If you have a picture, please, I want to see it before the next podcast because I would love to talk about that possibly later on.
I don't know
but
if I've got any
that's
pictures
great.
of this. There's pictures of me playing with Legos, but I'm sure there's not anything like of. Because that was the thing. I didn't think at the time to ever take pictures of what I made. Because I was definitely one of those people where like I never built the like sets that you got. Like I'd build it and I'd be like, that's so cool.
I did a little bit, but
and
I
then like after that, yeah, I'll
shortly
destroy
after.
it and then just start doing whatever I want with it. Like I know there's some people who are like this is cool too because like my sister does this. She has like she'll buy like the huge sets, you know, like the ones that are kind of more like meant to be like built and never taken apart. And
she
like,
put glue on them and then keep them intact for the rest of eternity.
I don't think so. I don't think there's any. I would hope not.
I've heard of people doing that, putting glue on some of the sets, like they were like huge Star Wars fans that I knew growing up, and they actually like made like I don't know, they had the Death Star and stuff like that,
and Falcon, and they're all
all that
to
stuff,
scale.
and they actually glue. I don't know about the scale. Oh yeah. I guess it was
not the size, the scale.
Yeah, I was thinking about that for a second. I don't know why I thought the size. Like, dude, that's not gonna fit. Yeah, but no, the scale. Yes, you're right. It is the scale, and they glued it so they would never come apart ever. So
that reminds me of like the Lego movie.
I'm gonna be 100% honest with you right now. I have not seen the Lego movie.
Oh, okay.
Any of them.
Well. Spoiler
I gotta
alert.
see it though. I heard that it's really good. I just gotta see it. I haven't had a chance to see it. I'm trying to see so many different things. I want to see what Lion King actually. So that's my next one.
The live action remake.
Yeah, you have to. It was my childhood, man. I gotta see Lion.
Yeah, I think that's gonna be I'm hoping to see it sometime soon, but probably next month. I'm not the person who goes watch it opening night though.
You know I'm not, but there's a big reason why I am. So that's my fiance.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
Well,
but it's fun.
Isn't it a spoiler for her? She listens to the podcast. She'll know what's coming up.
Yeah, no, this comes out. Well, actually, no. I have a thing downstairs with the tickets printed out, and so she can see it as soon as she walks in. So when she walks in, she'll see it. So she'll know before the podcast airs. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So.
I didn't know if you were gonna like, where are we going? I know those are always the hardest.
Who knows?
The hardest days to plan. Where you're like, where are we going? And then she's like, says something else. You're like, no, we're not going there.
Yeah, I know. I'm terrible at keeping secrets. I suck at lying. So she see through like everything. She's like, is it dinner somewhere? And I'm like, no.
Just be hungry.
just make sure you don't eat anything before we go. Just in case if we decide to get
it might be a roller coaster. You might lose your lunch. And she's like, what?
Yeah, you don't want to be super full because we're going to go for an 8-mile jog. You never know. But no, I'm excited about the possibility of aliens. I am also looking forward to see what the heck they're going to do about this huge microtransaction issue that parents are having. I wonder if they're going to build something in to help those parents get their money back in the future. Yeah. But honestly, I don't think they will, because
I think what they might do is they might have like you haven't bought anything on this card for like 7 days or something, or like, there's a certain like time limit. Like you haven't bought anything in a certain amount of time limit, it's going to deactivate the card. You now need to re-enter your info or something to like make sure if it's a game that kids play that like it will, you know what I mean? like remove the info. There might be an option to do that.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe that's the case. Maybe that's what they need to do. I don't know. That's a tough one, but we'll leave it up to the developers. They'll figure something out eventually.
Yeah, I'm sure. And thank you for listening to this episode of the Rad Gaming Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and rate and subscribe to us on iTunes or wherever else you listen to podcasts. We release a new episode every Wednesday and Friday. And as always, stay rad, comrades.